Hello, my fellow Devil's Rejects. How are you guys doing today? I'm doing fine. Are you ready for this game? It's called Tiny Bunny.
That's really hot. That's a hot mess. I was inspired because the intro music is really cool. I have a really cool creepy bunny mask, and I looked through like all my Halloween boxes. I cannot find it, so this other like fucking clown mask had to do. I have so many masks. It's a session. Don't ever worry about it. It's all good. Let's just play the game, okay? Let's play the game. Let's play the game. Put me smaller over here. New game. Oh, I'm warm now. The wind clawed at my window all night long. It wandered the fields and howled like a hungry beast. An endless song weaved from all sorts of voices. Shrill, gentle, sneery, twined in the air. They were shouting and laughing and arguing about something. Someone was running through the snow while casting long shadows that would occasionally creep close to my bed. Our house had a mind of its own. The creaky old mind of a building that had seen a lot in its days and was seemingly trying to share its wisdom with the inhabitants. The lonely house faced the forest, and the dark green thicket gazed back with its hollow eyes, rustling, whistling, swaying back and forth. One could come out and stand at the edge of the forest to reassure themselves there was nobody behind the crooked trees. Fuzzily silhouettes swaying in the wind couldn't possibly do any harm. It's just a play of light and shadow. Just a play. I knew it was just my imagination. I was already 12 after all. Still. Hey, put away your book. How many times have I told you not to read at the table? It's bad for your health. Look at how slouched you are. Hide. I didn't protest. Put the book about Conan the Barbarian aside. Okay. I put the book aside. I was stuck on a line I couldn't understand after reading it 3 times anyways. Olia had already finished her breakfast and was munching on some cookies. She was so enthusiastic she almost looked like your typical girl from commercials. You're not going anywhere until you finish all of it. I, on the other hand, was still trying to drill a hole in the plate with my eyes, as if it would make the porridge disappear. Hazy anxiousness welled up inside, all because of the previous sleepless night, the black forest around our house, and the gloomy wind. The longer I waited, the colder the lumpy white substance became. It looked like a jellyfish from the Cousteau Odyssey. I love that show. I wonder how horrifying the bottom of the ocean is, or how cold the black forest is at night. The spoon fell out of my hand. Mom showered me with a cold glare from her green eyes. What did I just say? I'll get it. I had 10 seconds to catch my breath before battling the nasty porridge once again. I felt around for the spoon. What is this? Carved on the other side of the table? Karina. Hey, that's my mom's name. I guess she carved it out with something pointy when she was little. She sure was a rascal, damaging the furniture like that. She would scold me for a week if I did anything similar, though. Should I remind her about it? No, she's been in a bit of a bad mood lately. I imagine her being my age sitting under this table. I wonder what Mom was afraid of, the dark back then? Or the sounds coming from the attic? Or the thick forest? I imagine my grandma coming into my little mom's room, sitting at the edge of her bed where Olya sleeps nowadays, and saying this in her soft, smooth voice. Taiga is a special place, little girl. It's watching you closely, sniffing you out, trying to discern what kind of beast you are. If you're a good sort, it won't abandon you in times of trouble. But if you're a bad apple, I'll grab you by the side and drag you under the ground. It'll grab you. And that would be it. Grandma was caring. She never fought with anybody, never yelled, never swore. Those were the times without the maddening screams until late at night, without smashed dishes and mutual accusations. Our parents used to love each other back then. I remember listening in one of their conversations by chance. They were talking about Grandma getting prepared for her own funeral. She had already bought a casket, and she called it her cute funeral box. It waited for its time in the closet, patiently. It was black, unupholstered, with neat, colored material on the inside. I saw it when my grandma was getting buried. The house didn't change since the time she was alive. Only all of the photos were gone. Glass covered pictures with gray faces of my ancestors. They all had a dead but watchful look in their eyes. I crawled out of the bottom of the table. Olya was done with her cookies, and was looking at my share like a sly little woodland creature. Ooh. All right. My excuse is that my first language is French. Okay, I'm trying. I turned my gaze towards the frosted window. There were a lot of dark pines outside, but they didn't grab my attention. The pattern of the frost formed a picture on the glass. Olya, look, it's a fox. Where? It looked almost like the optical illusion thingies they put on the back of student notebooks. A mixture of lines at first glance, but if you blur your vision a little bit and look under a certain angle. Not outside, on the window. Look, here's the nose, and here's... Hey, eat up. Yeah, just a moment. I don't see anything. Hurry up, we don't have much time. Ah, there it is. But it still doesn't look like one. And I'm telling you, it does. Nuh-uh, it does. Stop it, these kids, I swear. Now I couldn't see the fox either. It disappeared. Went away. Only the frosty pattern similar to stretched out needle leaves kept creeping up the glass. My dad entered the kitchen with long, measured steps. I want to have a beard like his when I grow up. Mom would always ask jokingly, "Come on, shave it off, it stings." This was long ago. Nowadays, rumbling doors and witty comebacks were an average occurrence. Olya always covers her ears whenever she hears something like, "What's the point in all of this?" through the wall. "It's all for your sake," Dad would reply. "For the sake of our family." I always caught every sound in fear of hearing the most dreaded, the deadliest word that started with D. Devo. I don't even want to finish it. It was scary to imagine that me and my little sister could be torn apart and taken into two different families. Anyways, your fox is for nothing. I have an owl on my window. You and your owl talk again? You said you believed me just yesterday. Have anybody seen my car keys? I remember leaving them on the windowsill. Right. Maybe you did, maybe you did not. You're a grown man, a father of two, and still... Karina, please stop. Just let me get ready in peace. Your keys are in the basket, along with the phone. Well, thank you very much. Anton, stop making a martyr out of yourself and finish eating already. And the owl. There was no owl. But there was one. It had giant glowing eyes. Olya sprung up from the chair and placed her hands on her little face, imitating a pair of eyes the size of an apple each with her fingers. Last year you had Beba in closet, and now this owl. But I saw it. Olivia shifted her gaze back and forth from Dad to Mom to me, but couldn't find any support. Have you thought about befriending it? You know, like feeding it with imaginary mice? Don't bully your girl. She's just afraid to sleep alone because she's still little. Olya pouted her lips in rebellion and rushed into the hallway. The staircase that led to the second floor creaked. Mom gave Dad a strict look. Oh, that look in her eyes. It's so uncomfortable to be pinned under it. Dad just snorted in reply and left, ringing with the keys he just found. A minute had passed, and a theme song from The Little Mermaid echoed through the house. Is that the song? I don't remember. It was stored on incredibly worn-out cassette tape, which had already glued together once. It's so easy to fix objects, but gluing them back together, for example. But how do you fix a relationship? Mom moved to the living room, and I was alone, anxiously stealing glances at the window. Olya had trouble sleeping ever since we moved into this house. She would toss and twirl curled up in a ball under her blanket. Sometimes she would jump off the middle of the night and turn on the VCR. Cartoons helped to take her mind off all the troubles we had with the move and our parents. And then Olya said she saw that giant flying monster outside the window. She became obsessed with it. Our parents did everything in their power. They tried every little trick to get rid of those ridiculous fears. Olya refused to sleep alone and didn't believe that the owl was just one of her nightmares. After tonight, I was unsure what to make of my sister's words, what to think of it myself. Can nightmares be infectious? Just last night, I couldn't get a wink of sleep and ended up thinking of what to expect in my new school. There was a couple of days left before the beginning of a new term. My imagination drew long, twisting hallways that led to a classroom full of kids, but all the students behind their desks were simply dark figures cut out using a template. Circular holes gaped in the middle of their faces, and a pair of eyes blinked inside those holes. It was as if some completely different creatures were looking at me from behind the flat black silhouettes. Their cruel glares, filled with my icy snares, made me shiver from head to toe. Will I survive here? Won't they gang up on me and beat me down, stomp on me with their bloodied shoes? The damn school can burn for all I care. I just wished for anything to happen to it. Doesn't really matter what. I didn't want to go there that much. I didn't want to see people who are just itching to smack me on the head, trip me up, think of a new offensive name for me, worse than the previous one. This game is a little bit too relatable for me. Alright, from start to end, that's kind of crazy. Very relatable. Okay. I felt like the glasses I wore made me an outsider of some sort of monster. My gaze slid across the drawings hanging on the walls. I couldn't consider myself a great artist, but Olia begged me to hang them. Drawing was the only thing that made me happy as of late. The small circles of friends I had also enjoyed my paintings. Sorry, I'm trying. The small circle of friends I had also enjoyed my paintings, and they promised to call me from time to time. Sometimes I imagine Mom picking up the phone and saying in a cold voice, "You've got the wrong number." Or, Anton's not around. Anton's not around. I imagine my future classmates lying in their beds just like me, listening to the howls of the invisible werewolves outside their windows. Maybe my new classmates will like me after all. But who would ever like a boy with thick glasses? I mean, my dad used to wear glasses when he was little, and now he's married to the most beautiful woman on the planet, my mom. The house creaked, pressed by the wind. The condo we used to live in, a 9th-floor concrete building, buzzed with the neighbor's drill, mumbled with a TV set from behind the wall, cried like a baby from the big family next door. Our current house, though I can't really call it new, was completely different. It was silent and easy going during the day. It was silent and easygoing during the day. Its shadows lay dormant in the corners, on the closet cobwebs, and under the stairs, but they all woke up during the night. Something was watching me from every corner, almost as if the old photos of my deceased family with their ashen eyes were hanging on the walls in place of my drawings. The floor was squeaking, and rusty drains were moaning. The attic was occupied by noisy drafts. One could think the house was performing some sort of demonic melody. And then I realized I was, in fact, hearing music. I was already playing for a good while. Somewhere at the edge of my perception, I could hear a flute. It was mixed in with the sound of wind, of the creaking old house, and my thoughts too. I stood up and rushed to the window. I wanted to reassure myself that this music was nothing more than a product of my imagination. It's not like someone's playing it there. I missed the cold, snowy night, right? Open the window. Blinds. Someone was dancing in the field. Black silhouettes I could barely make out with the dark forest as their backdrop. They jumped around, basked in moonlight, bumped into piles of snow, rolled around, and crawled on all fours. Stories about wolves playing under the moon came to mind, but these were clearly not wolves. They stood upright at times, circled around holding hands and whipping up snow, disappearing into the shadows for a brief moment and then coming back. Something bizarre was going on. Shadow dancing in the starless abyss made my imagination go wild, making me anxious at the same time. Suddenly the music had stopped. The dancing shadows froze in place, and I could swear, pierced me with the eyes. One of the silhouettes immediately parted from the bizarre shadow carnival and sprinted across the field with giant leaps. It glided on squeaky snow without leaving any prints until it was devoured by the pitch-dark shadow of my house, which became even darker and thicker. My heart was jumping around like the bird inside a cage. I shut the curtains with a swift motion and stepped back towards the bed. They saw me. A freezing torrent of fear washed over me. I stood in the middle of a perfectly dark room and listened to some unwanted guest move and scrape around, looking for an entrance. The sound moved to the right, then circled around the house. Now my guest should be at the front door. I jumped into the bed and covered myself with the blanket, as if it could protect me. The shackles of fear locked my muscles. I remembered the funeral. My grandmother lying there, hands crossed on her chest, her facial features sharp like that of a tin doll. Ants running up and down the legs of chairs that held my grandma's casket. I imagined those little creatures climbing up into her head and pulling up her eyelids with their tiny legs. Then her wrinkly eyeballs would once again move inside their sockets as she'd be able to see her grandchildren. I was chanting the spell she'd taught me throughout the whole procedure, and now lying under the blanket and listening to squeaks and howls, I was repeating the same words. On the island of Boya, underneath the blemished sun, in the sea of color blue, stands a cabin made of wood. There lay lard and ashen hair for the spawn from devil's lair, to feast and always leave alone. God's faithful servant named Anton. Evil leave this house must, ashes to ashes, dust to dust. Bizarre sounds had disappeared. I cautiously peeked out from under the blanket and saw curtains waving around like a hangman. And then the night doused me with a new portion of boiling terror. The sound scratched at my eardrums. In reality, something or someone was scratching in at the front door, clawing at wood, demanding to be let in. The door was shut. Dad had become very cautious recently, so he installed a sturdy lock. I remember him staring at the forest intently as if he was looking for someone. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. I hugged my knees, placing my chin between them, and drilled the door with my eyes. It was so flimsy and weak before the might of darkness. And then the doorknob twitched slightly. Then it turned halfway, once, twice, as if the person who tried to enter had no hands. The doorknob tilted once more and then started shaking violently. My jaw cramped from fear, my wet fingers clutched the blanket. The door creaked and opened up. The wind taunted me, moaning inside the tin drains. Now you'll see. The door was wide open. Darkness writhed inside the carnivorous mouth of a doorway. Tonight. It was as if the night itself was calling out to me, flapping its black wings and squeaking with rusty hinges. I was trembling, ensnared by the web of darkness that hung in the corners of my room, waiting for the one who weaved it to come out of the gaping black hole. Tonight. My abdomen tightened and my chest rose up, ready to exhale a desperate scream. But before I was able to do anything, the darkness asked me, Tony, are you asleep? My sister's pale face protruded from the thick shadows. I almost screamed from relief. Olya, I'm not sleeping. Did something happen? Olya frowned and stricked her lower lip, a clear sign that she was about to cry. It's there again, staring at me. Shoo her away, Tony, please. I'm so scared. The fear that was tormenting me just a minute ago crawled away and hid somewhere in my stomach. I needed to calm down. I needed to calm Olya down. It was just a dream, silly. Don't be scared. Dreams don't bite. No one's going to harm you. Olya snobbed. She was trying her best to believe me, but was I sure myself? I have an idea. Let's go to your room and watch the video Sleeping Beauty, for example. You like that cartoon, don't you? Why does Sleeping Beauty have a prince and I have this scary bird? That question took me by surprise. Alright, let's watch Cinderella. My thoughts became tangled, fuzzy. What was that? What studied me with its eyes while dancing feverishly under the moon? The darkness was clinging to the window, and it couldn't be fooled by Grandma's old chants. It couldn't be satisfied with a feast of lard and long ashen hair. Tony, are you coming? Yeah, just a moment. That's why I didn't want to laugh at Olia and her owl in the morning. Oh, give me a sec here. Oh, I got goosebumps. I turned all the lights off in here and everything. Dude, I got goosebumps. Well, you can't see. Whew, I'm hot. Oh, I need some water. Give me a second. Give me a minute. This was my first time reading all of this. Like, I'm sorry for all the mistakes. But I was getting really into it. And then, oh, that freaked me out, man. Oh. Okay, next. Who could be knocking on our door here in the middle of nowhere? We don't know anyone around here. So persistent. I felt extremely unsettled just from a silly thought that our morning guest could have come from the woods. I could barely hear voices coming from the front door. My mind was urging me to hide. In the closet, under the table, behind the curtains where Olia always hides. Tony, come here. I felt like kettlebells were tied to my feet, but still dragged them towards the hallway. A couple of policemen towered over me in the doorway. It smelled like frost and worry. My mom always winced and grumbled the moment she saw patrol cars, worse than bandits. At the moment, though, she looked somewhat confused. Hello? Senior officer, who wore a grim expression, nodded. A boy has gone missing yesterday. His name is Vova. Look at this, please. Have you seen him? The policeman held out a photograph to me. There was a ginger boy around the age of elementary school pictured with the wall carpet as the backdrop. He had a striped cat in his hands and wore a wide smile. No, I haven't. Are you sure? Look closely. Where would I see him? I don't know anybody around here. I barely leave the house. Well, maybe you've seen him from the window. That's right, your windows look straight to the forest, don't they? The window. No, I haven't seen anything. I see. His voice was tired, but his eyes, his stare long and heavy, was full of suspicion. I squirmed unwittingly under the weight of guilt which his giant shadow cast over me. The policeman finally tore his eyes from me and glanced over the hallway, to stare in the cracks in the ceiling which I haven't noticed before for some reason. How do you like your new place, by the way? Getting used to it? Bit by bit, it's just our little daughter misses the city a lot. Misses the city, huh? Have the locals been treating you well? Yeah, everything's alright, thank you. The policeman pierced through me one more time with his gray eyes. My head started spinning. Can I help you somehow? I asked that in a shaky voice to look like a polite boy, and to end this unpleasant conversation sooner. Now that I think about it, you just look like one of my nephews, little fella. He's a witty boy around your age, wears the same type of goggles, haha. Always engrossed in reading those mystery novels. Told me he wants to enroll into police school when his family visited up this summer. Wanted to help other people just like me, see? I felt uncomfortable, as if a distant relative and not the police officer stood before me. You know what? Little boys like you should stay at home, steer away from the trouble. The times have changed so much. Mom interjected in a cold voice. You don't say. Oh well then. What grade are you in, Tony boy? 6. Have you made any friends here so far? Not yet. I'm going to school for the first time after the break. Oh, then I'll leave you my number just in case. Call me if you have any new information. The policemen were gone along with their shadows, the smell of cheap cologne, and the photo of a smiling boy. His face still stood before my eyes. I thought about what he felt being all alone right now. There. For some reason I imagined the forest swaying in the wind. What did his poor parents feel? What would my parents do if I'd be gone missing? Would they cry and trash around hysterically? Or would they accuse each other like they always do and eventually forget about me? Mom, this Vova, did he go missing in our forest? Seems like it, poor child. I looked out the window at the road. The UAZ drove off towards the village. The officer's nephew came to mind while I was spitting off old paint from the windowsill. I remembered all the teenage mystery novels from the Black Kitty series I've read this summer. Your average boys and girls investigated all sorts of mysteries there. They looked for clues, spied on suspicious people, and after a set of amazing adventures, bam! Solved any complicated cases. They became local celebrities and must have made their parents real proud. I noticed the trail of the policeman's footprints that led to the forest, and then it clicked in my head. Why don't I start an investigation of my own? Maybe I'll find that lost boy, and I'll get my reward. Olia will be so happy. And not only Olia, Mom and Dad too. Maybe they'll even forget about their quarrels for a while. Maybe I'll even save us from the D word. I fantasized about buying Olia a Tamagotchi and then getting a cassette player and a bunch of tapes for myself, and a whole box of Kinder Surprise. When was the last time my parents bought us any toys? Last autumn, I think. My dad had lost his job at the time. That's that annoying song about it. I had little to no idea what the accountant's job's like. They count money? Neighbors used to envy us, but nowadays Mom and Dad barely had money to afford sweets, and Dad would always divide a single chocolate bar between me and Olia. Sometimes I gave her my share too. No matter how much I wanted to eat sweets, she was still just a pipsqueak. I couldn't wait to go out looking for clues. I'm going outside. Yeah, right. You want the police to go around with your photograph next? The forest is so thick. What if the boy got snatched up by animals, or something even worse? Even worse echoed through the hallway. I won't go far, I'll stay away from the forest. Did you hear what I said, or should I repeat myself? You'd better pack your school bag, or go play with Olia. The sound of splashing water came from the kitchen. It meant that the argument was over and my mom had the last word. What's in there? Open. The dark, stuffy closet. Mom said it smells like mice, but how does she know their smell? She hates when I stick my nose in there. She's afraid I'll cut myself on the freshly sharpened axe. And Olia can't be lured close to it. She thinks Bebe is living there. I tried to help her fight her fears once. I opened the door and turned on a dim lamp so she would see there was nothing but cobwebs, Dad's tools, and scratched walls. She still didn't believe me. And I like to hide in the closet and listen to Leah count outside. 1, 2, 3, better hide from me. And then drag her feet on the creaking floorboards, hoping that she won't need to look for me in the crap monster's den. Should I go in the kitchen? Kitchen. Open the fridge. Freezer. Grandma kept ice cream for me and Olia there, but now I could only see meats, bits for soups, and clumped together. Pill mini? I grew to hate them already. Okay. Front door. Anton. I'll whip you if you make a single step out that door. Oh. What's this on the top right? Sorry about that. Cross. This cross has seen so many people come and go in the house. It was black, as if absorbed all human sin from the long years it was hanging under the ceiling. After Grandma died, Mom was going to take it off and hang a horseshoe in its place as a lucky charm, but she cut herself with the cross-sharp corner and almost fell from the stepladder. Weird. Dad called it a sign from above and ordered the cross to be left alone in its rightful place. It's weird. What's this? Phone? My parents prohibit me from making long-distance calls, but from time to time I really want to hear my old friends. Sometimes I would just pick up the phone, listen to the low hum of the zoomer and the distant crackling, imagining the wind howling in the ice-laden chords. That's sad. Okay, what's that? Mom's peg top, a family relic. My mom played with it when she was little, then she gifted it to me. Olia was next in the succession line. The toy belonged to her now. She started at the dancing spindle as if I could show her something. A fairy tale, or maybe even our future. Not even my little sister was a bit too old for the old squeaky peg top. Well, I think I don't think we can do anything. Front yard? I need to distract my mom somehow, or I'll get scolded and my ass whipped with the dad's leather belt. Okay, kitchen. What's this? Calendar? Covered calendar. I remember waking up and running to the kitchen so I could tear off yesterday's leaf first thing in the morning, as if the coming day would get lost in the Tag of Forgus without my help. One day closer to New Year's, one day closer to Grandma's funeral. I haven't touched this calendar for years now, since the time they started writing dark and spooky death chants that only made me gloomy instead of funny proverbs and superstition, to be exact. I grabbed a dusty calendar leaf with caution and tore it off effortlessly. Sadly, the spooky descriptions from my childhood were still there. 7 horses carry the log. If 7 can't carry, bring the 8 from a fairy. They will take it away and never come back. This is the fate the log cannot escape. I crumbled the gray leaf and threw it into the waste bin, hoping to get rid of the anxiousness that washed over me. It was spreading inside me like an ink stain on a blotted paper. The side of an old ocean freezer was checked with my childhood drawings, mom recipes, and all kinds of stickers. Among that still life picture hung a piece of ruled paper with the phone number of the police officer who visited us. First lieutenant. Okay, the scrap of paper was held by 2 pieces of broken magnet. I leaned towards to unveil the mystery and take the piece to a safer place when it would wait for its time. When I could finally find Vova and the first to call the police with the happy news. Anton! Mom, reproachful eyes stared at me. What do you need it for? Hands off, you'll lose it. Angering my mom was the last thing I wanted, so I lowered my hand. Well, how are we gonna distract her? The radio? Emercom of Russia has declared the state of emergency due to adverse weather conditions. According to the weather forecast, a cyclone is moving towards the region. Expect heavy snowfall, blizzards, and snowdrifts on the road. Keep your eyes open and take care of yourself. How can I distract her? Click on her? It was difficult to lie to Mom, but there was no other way for me to run away from home. Mom, something's wrong with the TV. The picture is dim and there are stripes all over the screen. Mom's face became visibly distorted. Oh, you're killing me here, so have you had enough of shooting those stupid ducks now? Told you the kinetoscope will go dim because of your console. Where will we find a TV technician in this hole, huh? Maybe it's just the settings? Please go see yourself. Strange, it worked fine in the morning. Maybe the snowfall caused it? Mom rubbed her hands clean of her apron and went to Lydia's room. Okay, turn back. Go to the front door. Go, 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 go. I opened the front gate and went into the field. Carefully so Mom wouldn't see me from the window. When I crossed half of the distance towards the forest, the snow piles became as high as my knees. I remembered my nightly fears. The silhouettes I saw were around here. They were jumping around, holding hands. That hypnotizing music started playing in my head, all on its own. In the light of day, those distant figures felt like a simple dream. The sun turned my nightmares to ash, but the afterwaste was still there. distant ringing in my ears, distorted shadows crawling on the snow alongside of me, and a barely audible whisper in my head, blurry and almost kind. Everything was silent. So silent, I felt like the world was totally empty. No ground, no sky, no parents, no Aaliyah. The time reached its limit at one-way trip that ended at the forest's piney stockade. Sometimes silence was much more scary than any scream. Our parents would scream at each other while arguing, and both me and Aaliyah turned to stone, listening to them. But then always came the ringing silence. Our apartment became numb a couple of days before we departed. It was hard to remember the last time Mom and Dad joked around, laughing, or spent time together, almost like all of it was in a previous life. When they kissed with Aaliyah present, she always frowned and snorted in a funny way, but one day it all changed. Something important had left her home, and something scary filled the remaining void. It was as if the fire broke up and our parents were hurriedly packing our belongings, trying to save themselves and us. From who, though? From the people with dead cold eyes who sometimes visited us in a previous home? These eyes that only saw balls of worms on the black ground and everything. And somewhere far away a siren was going off, trying to warn us of the coming menace. I shuddered, chasing away my delusions, and looked around. There were only me, this white field, and the wind that was whipping icy dust and belts of powdered snow. I squinted from the sun and turned my eyes to the sunless forest. It looked especially dark in contrast with the blinding whiteness. Knobby tree roots slithered through under the snow like fat snakes. Rotten leaves and coniferous needles froze into the ice. Dry, prickly branches intervened, bringing up uncomfortable thoughts about fences. Were they protecting the forest? Or were they keeping something from breaking out? The same object was hanging from one of the pointy branches. I tried to get closer, drowning in snow, and when I almost got to the edge of the forest, I saw a knitted mitten. It looked like a wounded bird along the hungering semi-dark. Should I take it to the police? Their senior officer looked gloomy, but he still reminded me of the Captain Casanova from my favorite TV show called The Streets of Broken Lights. He was also always anxious with a tired look in his eyes, but still brave and strong. Will his mitten help find the lost boy? Vova! I heard a distant shout, looked like it came from the river. Vova! As if the trees were calling out to someone. Vova resounded closer to me. There was someone standing there behind the trees, hiding. Vova! I knew someone was looking for the lost boy, but still, there was something unsettling about that figure. Its stillness, how it was bent unnaturally towards the ground, its blackness. There's no one there, just branches and roots. It's all just my imagination. A nearly bird flapped its wing loudly. A shadow split from the tree and disappeared from my sight. I looked away for just a moment, but when I turned my gaze back to the same place, it was gone. So it was my imagination after all. Silence reigned for a painfully long time. My muscles were tightly sprung, my heart was beating somewhere in my throat. Any noise, any little movement, any small whispers from the thicket, and I'd sprint. But nothing of the sort happened. I looked at the mitten once more. Take it. I decided to take the lonely mitten from the branch. Oh. Vova! You should run, bud. Run. A shout rumbled across the field and dissolved into the distance. No echo, no hope for a reply. Run, run, run! I stepped towards the bristly trees and tried to claim my find. Oh no, it didn't budge. I pulled hard out of the branch, prodded, and the mitten tore off, landing in my hand with a squishy sound. All too wavy, wet, I squeezed it without thinking, and something dark spilled from it, forming a tiny string between the mitten and the snow. Steam rose from the snow pile. I froze in place, studying my palms in disgust. Red. The sound of crackling branches invaded the silence. I didn't have to think twice before running away. Run! Someone was chasing me from the darkness, breathing pine branches close into the distance with giant leaps. Snow was running me down. Crazy thoughts flew through my mind. I'll get caught. They'll get me. I'll get dragged into the thicket. I'll be gone forever. But there was one more voice, probably one of reason, and gave me strength. It spurred me on. You can do it. Don't stop. I heard an animal roar behind me. It was so loud my ears went numb. I felt like the sound had come from a pack of hungry beasts rather than a single one. Their nostrils stuck in freezing cold air. They sensed my fear. Two giant wings flapped above my head. An enormous shadow flew over the clearing. A hoot, a wheeze. The roars were coming from all the directions now. The dried up raspberry bush, from twisted pines, from under the windfall. Hurry, run, don't look back! I felt like I was inside a nightmare. The snowy clearing became viscous like quicksand. I was stuck in place. I pulled my legs from the rusty trap to be caught in a new one even deeper than before. I continued to drown, sinking deeper and deeper with my every desperate push. Was snow ever this sticky? I screamed in horror after realizing this wasn't snow. Someone or something in the snow pile was clutching my pants. I gathered all my strength and rushed forward. Oops. The pressure on my leg was gone. My boots slipped out of the hole. My soles were on a hard surface again. I reached a clear path with one jump, and from there I ran to my house. Its gloomy facade didn't look threatening now. The house was in the line of defense from the shadows that flapped their wings and the creatures that were hidden under the snow. I tripped over the doorstep and smashed into the door. In all my hurry, I still managed to notice the claw marks, as if a dog was striking the wood with his paws, demanding to be let in so I could escape the cold. I hadn't noticed these marks when I was leaving. The heartbeat in my ears was much louder than my surroundings. I could hear whether someone was following me or not. What if they were already in the front yard and Mom had locked the door? Drowning in fear, I pulled on the doorknob and it opened and gave away. I rolled into the hallway and shut the door behind me. Porch planks cranked as my pursuers ascended to the stairs. My fingers slipped off the lock and I couldn't click it into place. I gritted my teeth and pulled hard on the iron knob, whipping it between the boards. I stared blankly at the door. Someone was standing in the other side of the pitiful, flimsy barrier that was probably less useful than blankets. Wheezing breath reached into the house and crashed at me in waves. It smelt of pine and sweat. Mom peeked out of the kitchen and cherished me with the same frigid voice she always used when talking to Dad. What exactly didn't you understand when I told you never to slam the door? I didn't mean to. I snuck a glance at the door. The smell was gone and the breath was too. If there was someone in the first place. Of course, here, we're 5 meters away from Mom, my fear was slowly weakening, melting like snow in spring, and with it the last bit of strength I had left. My body, too. My legs gave away. I propped myself up against the wall so I wouldn't fall over. Mom's expression had changed immediately. The cold mask of strictness and detached was gone. Mom looked the same as before all those quarrels. She saw my condition at last, my wet pants plastered with snow. Where have you been? What did I tell you, huh? I told you to stay home. Am I nothing to you too? I got afraid she would cry. I reached out to her like when I was very little and wanted to cuddle me. But Mom regained her composure fast and put on her usual face. Her eyes shined like steel, her voice rang out. Your dad can't find his cigarettes. Be honest, did you snatch them? Were you smoking in secret? There was someone chasing me, I thought. I stuttered as soon as I started explaining myself. Tears welled up in my eyes. Mom leaned towards me and sniffed my clothes like a beast searching for the smell of tobacco. Then she squinted her eyes in suspicion and looked into the front yard. Her expression changed in an instant and she covered her mouth with her hand. "Look over there at the fence!" My heart started thumping as if I became prey once again and my pursuers were following me in the field. I could swear that I've heard something scratch at the door just like my nightmare. Mom beckoned me with her finger and gathered all my remains bravely to look in the kitchen window facing my fear. I could barely discern some hairy silhouettes swimming in snow through the icy winter patterns on the glass. Dogs! Just a small pack of strays with no name and owner, barely reminding me of the hungry monsters that live on the edge of the forest. Oh boy, were you scared of them? I think they'd rather be scared of you, Anton. They were chasing me like a bunny. And what if they were rabid? The smile has slowly disappeared from Mom's face. Now she looks at the dogs as if it was her first time seeing them. What if they attack Olia? Mom? I wish your dad could just shoot them all. Mom, look, they're alive. What? Are they your friend or foe after all? Make up your mind. You're not a little kid already. Mom sighed in annoyance and felt so bitter that I bit my lower lip and fixed my gaze on the cobweb-ridden corner. Well, some detective I am. In reality, I wasn't risking my life among monsters, but rather my pants among a pack of stupid strays. And what for? What use do I have for this? Mitten? Of course! A dark and sticky mitten that belonged to the lost boy who made a squishy sound in my hand. It seemed like I was clutching it the whole time. That's my trump card as a detective. I hurried to present this clue to my mom. Mom, look. This is Vova's mitten. That boy the police was asking about in the morning. It's drenched in blood. I found it hanging on the tree. I can show you where. Let's call the police, like the officer told us to. Mom, look. Ew. A shadow of doubt slowly crept into Mom's controlled face, as if she was trying to remember something distant, like someone tries to remember their dream. But the images slip away. Stop it this moment. Olia will go insane if she hears you. She already has trouble sleeping and whines all the time. And you joke around like this? At the moment, I realized the mitten was actually wet from snow. There was no blood whatsoever. I wanted to sink through the floor from embarrassment. Come here, my boy, who cried, Wolf. Or don't just stand there. Come take your pills. A golden-colored pill reminiscent of a dead wasp fell onto my palm. I already took one during the breakfast. Don't talk over me. I told you to stay home, and you... Dad would have given you a good whipping for that. Come on, take it, or you won't be able to sleep at night, and you have school tomorrow. So I had to swallow the bitter medication, drinking it down with similarly awful water that gave off a taste of chlorine. Maybe it wasn't Foma's mitten. Maybe it wasn't a mitten at all, just like the forest monsters. An oilless owl. Am I going mad? What's happening to me? Either the pill had immediate effect or my overwhelmed brain didn't let fear inside anymore. Serenity washed over me, bringing yawny indifference along with it. Anton, you done? See, you can do it when you try. Take off your coat. Are you asleep? No, Mom, I was just thinking. What about, I wonder? It's just something silly. Mom scrutinized me with suspicious eyes, as if she wasn't sure she was looking at her own son and not some doppelganger that came from the forest. Is everything alright? You had the same exact expression when the policeman asked you about the window. I'm alright, Mom. She heaved a deep sigh. Fine. It seemed like the house had changed. The sofa's fabric had become discolored. Fingerprints appeared on the bathroom tiles. The light bulbs also felt different, dimmer and yellower. Even the saliva inside my mouth had a different taste. A melody from Aladdin could be heard from the upper floor. Olia was done rewatching her favorite Little Mermaid episodes and switched to the other tapes. I slowly changed into my home clothes, Stopped before the sink and studied my reflection in the mirror, like I was trying to solve one of those spot the difference puzzles. Then I went upstairs. Jafar's and Lago's voice died down. I walked past Aaliyah's bedroom and slipped into my own. Is that a Freddie Mercury poster? Up there? Freddie Mercury poster. Right up there. Ah! Hell yeah! The story really is relatable. Okay, open. One of the drawers was empty. I hid the mitten there. Okay. Sorry. This simple action drained the last bit of strength from me. I sat on the bed. And only then I noticed there was something behind the curtains. My tired hand dropped to the sheets. Whether it was due to medication I took or the stress I underwent, the room began to contort as if the wind was blowing the walls out like a pair of sails. The room's corner bent and undulated. The only stable thing in the whole room was the figure between the windowsill and the curtains. A flimsy piece of cloth was stuck to my hidden visitor, just like the savants of sorts. Aaliyah? Who else would be standing there? I stood up and licked my dried up lips. Oh yeah, Aaliyah, it's so funny. The silhouette was unmoving. It was enveloped softly by the curtains, as if there was a thick layer of darkness there, not a human being. I reached towards the curtains. Ba-dum, ba-dum, the beat of my heart, controlled by medication. The wind sang in the field with the chorus of voices. For a second I wanted to return to the bed to slide down and watch the person behind the curtain, knowing full well they were looking back at me. They're looking without blinking, waiting for me to fall asleep. Plastic rings rustled against the holder when I pulled open the curtains. Gotcha! I knew it was you from the beginning. A blindingly bright halo lit up above Olivia's head with the setting sun as the background. My sister was shining. When she was just a baby, Dad always used to say she was shining with happiness. I always retorted, but Dad, she's not some flashlight. But I brought her to the window one day and sunlight poured on her smiling face. I felt like I was holding a child woman from light. I saw everything. Oh, really? What did you hide? She was just like my mom when she was little before she put on her sad mask of tiredness and switched to her commanding tone of voice. It's nothing, just... Aaliyah ran up to the table, her eyes round, and asked, You stole something and hid it there. Are you a thief? What? Don't be stupid. I didn't steal anything. A clear image came to mind, that mitten hanging from a tree branch. What if I did steal it after all? From the forest, from the tilted figure standing behind the black trees. Aaliyah could be selfish and stubborn when she wanted. Then show me. Swear that you won't tell anyone, then I'll show you. Aaliyah wore a plotting smile. I swear on Mom's heart. An oath she heard in one of the movies about the pioneers we've watched. Don't say things like that. Olivia nodded and made a gesture with her hand, locking her mouth with an imaginary key. She was filled with curiosity that was splashing in her giant eyes. I opened the drawer and Leah leaned in, holding her breath. It looked like there was not just a simple mitten, but some sort of exotic critter. Is this someone's mitten? She said that as she couldn't understand what she saw. A certain boy lost it. Got lost himself. Now you do understand how dangerous it is for kids to wander into the forest, right? You must be really cold out there. Will they find him? They will. The police is going house to house showing his photo to everyone. Olia traversed the room with care and pressed her tiny palms against the window. And why are they going to the houses and not the forest? Are they scared? The question caught me off guard. The police isn't scared of anything. Yeah, right. Flashed in my Flashed in my clouded mind. Did they really check every nook and cranny, where darkness cold and whispers of icy branches dwell? Is that the case? How did they miss them in? Or did it appear later for me? I changed the topic, as if trying to get Elias as far away as possible from the forest thicket. You may get a reward if I go and find this boy myself. A lot of stuff like in Field of Wonders. Sounds cool, right? Olia wasn't listening to me. She was piercing the forest with incredibly adult eyes, uncharacteristic for her. What if the owl got him? Nonsense. An owl won't be able to lift a human. But you know that. I was picnicking my words with utmost care. I forced them out of my overexerted brain. Stay away from the forest. I think it's how I should put it. It's cursed or something. Just like in a fairy tale? No, not like that. More like the spooky tape from a mom and dad are hiding from us. Olia shivered and stole a glance out the window. I saw you running away. Someone was chasing you? No, it's just I was hurrying back home so Mom wouldn't be worried. As I looked at my sister, my heart was tearing apart. She was so fragile, it was so easy to stifle her light. A gust of wind and her small fire would be gone. You're lucky. Mom won't even let me go outside. I'm like a princess in the tower, can't go anywhere. I'll die from boredom here. You're wrong. No one has ever died of boredom. And you have me and your cartoons, and Mom, Dad will be good to each other soon. You know what I would wish for on my next birthday? I wish for Mom and Dad to turn into children so we could go and play together like we used to. Yeah, and if you don't make them as small as bugs, we could place them into a little box. Olia giggled and tugged at my sleeve. Tony, let's go watch Aladdin. That's my favorite Disney movie, by the way, my favorite cartoon movie, so yeah, Aladdin all the way. Fatigue won over my desire to be with my little sister. I was washed over by some sort of heinous apathy. I'm too tired, I don't want to. Come on, it's so boring alone and Mom's always busy. We can pick a cartoon you haven't seen before. I know all of our tapes by heart at this point. Not all of them. You haven't watched Peter Pan. Remember how you fell asleep in the middle of it? And so much happens after that. Let's go, let's go. Maybe a bit later. Should I tell you how it ends? Let's leave that for tomorrow. I won't tell you tomorrow. I know, let's play hide and seek. No, Aaliyah. Then draw me a dino. Will ya please? Draw it, draw it. Will you leave me alone already? I blurted out without thinking, and then I was immediately taken back. I never screamed at my little sister like that. Aaliyah stared at me in shock. Her lips started trembling, a precursor to tears. My chest was seething with disgust and embarrassment. What's happening to me? I hurried to prevent Aaliyah from crying. Alright, you win. Let's go watch cartoons for a bit. I don't wanna. I came up to her, put my hands on her soft head. Let's go. Let's go watch Peter Pan. Ooh, you fall asleep again. I smiled and lifted her chin. Her eyes were wet and felt bottomless. I promise I won't, and I'll draw you a full Triceratops later. Yay! Triceratops. Well, close enough. Aaliyah rubbed her eyes with the sleeve of her pajamas, and a shiny smile returned to her face. I'll go ask Mom for condensed milk and bread, and you rewind the tape. The bread is fresh, just how you like it. Alright, just be careful not to spill the milk, or you'll be yelled at again. Wanna bet I won't spill it? The tape is somewhere in the nightstand. Look for it. Aaliyah disappeared into the doorway, and I dragged my feet into the neighboring room. Turn on. Old photon TV was gathering dust in the corner. That's the kind of TV I used to have in my room. All that was left was clinging the button on the front panel. The tube warmed up and familiar white noise started dancing on the black screen. I almost reached out to turn on the VCR when the noise calmed down and a blurry image appeared for a moment. It was dark taiga forest just like one outside my window. The picture split the screen in half. Something creepy resembling a human speech was coming out of the speaker. Just a few moments later, the scenery was again overshadowed by noise. Did I catch some rogue signal? Local TV station only really showed Soviet cartoons, and even that was pretty rare. And only just recently I used to always watch Robotech before school. It was so awesome. Maybe I should tinker with the antenna. What if I catch this channel again? On the other hand, Aaliyah had asked me to find the tape. It wouldn't be nice to disappoint her, but in my sleepy state I didn't have the strength to do all of it. Search. I lifted through the shelves full of dolls and blue hippos from Kinder Surprises. I found the tape I needed thanks to its shabby spine. I got the black rectangle from its box. The tape inside it rested while rewinding to the beginning. This rustle was lulling me to sleep. Drowsiness attacked me while I was squatting before the TV. Images whirled in my head, me and Aaliyah flying above the forest, tumbling in the soft clouds. My little sister is laughing, but her smile becomes more and more forced with every passing second. I noticed that the clouds underneath us part, bearing the bristly pine tops. Swampy darkness slurred among the trees. The wings are no longer able to hold us and Aaliyah. You haven't started without me, have you? My sister brought the tray with unevenly cut bread and a whole can of condensed milk. I rubbed my eyes. No, come sit. Mom and Dad are arguing again. We're going through rough times. Rough times are lame. On the screen when he was hiding Peter Pan's shadow into the dresser, Aaliyah was entertained by the cartoonish dog Nana. Maybe Mom and Dad will buy us a dog too. Yeah, right. I'll have my own dog in the Neverland, and a cat, and a parrot. Aaliyah smeared a slice of bread with the thick layer of condensed milk and handed it to me. Have you lost all of your baby teeth? Obviously. Aaliyah frowned deep in thought. Peter Pan has baby teeth. What if they don't let you go to his land with adult teeth? Well, I'll think of something. We'll ask your Dad to alter your age in the passport. And why would Dad forge documents? Aaliyah took a bite from the sandwich and started talking with her mouth full. He will. He wouldn't. Mom, they did that before. He'll grow ears as big as Dumbo's. Aaliyah got worried and touched her ears. I smiled to myself. My little sister was silent now. She just devoured bread, watching the adventures of Peter Pan, Tinkerbell, and James Hook, as if she got sucked into the fairy tale Neverland. To be honest, I also imagined myself there, in a land where no one ever ages, where no one argues over little things, where no one listens to fights and the sound of broken plates at night. It felt like I was dreaming with my eyes still open. Then my sister's scream pulled me back to reality. Tony, shut the curtains fast. Why? No one's watching you. It's dark, and when it's dark, the owls come. I'm scared. I got out of bed, fighting my drowsiness, and closed the curtains. I did my best not to look outside towards the treetops, towards the taiga forest, which seemingly drew closer and closer. Of course, it was just a visual effect from the shadows of branches scraping the snow. Tony, Mom thinks I made the owl up, and Dad too thinks I'm a liar since I'm small. But the owls exist. Honestly, it does. You do believe me, right? That it comes every night. And I swiftly grabbed Leah's hand and looked her in the eyes. I was trying to transfer at least some of my courage and determination. But did I really have those qualities? Yes, I believe you, alright. Just don't nag our parents about it anymore. They're already dealing with a lot, so they'll just get mad at you. Come and tell me if anything happens. And don't look out the window. But it wants me to look. Doesn't matter. Act like it doesn't exist and never existed. Like it's made up, just like Mom and Dad say. It'll get tired of waiting and fly away. It was madness, but after everything that's happened recently, I was more and more inclined to believe Olia's owl existed. We followed Peter Pan's adventures as if nothing happened, as if the forest didn't kidnap kids, as if our parents weren't tearing each other apart bit by bit. Captain Hook was running away from a crocodile and Captain Pan was headed to London on a gilded sailboat. By some miracle, I lasted longer than my little sister. Olia's eyelids had dropped. She started snorting lightly, resting her chin on the side of the bed. I stood up and left Olia's room. I was looking out the window, studying the field, when Mum peeked into my room. Enough playing around. It's your first day at school tomorrow. Go to bed. You should sleep properly. You don't want to be teased for being sleepy, right? Adults think everything is so simple. As if sound sleep would ensure my classmates would like me. I covered myself with a blanket up to my neck and listened to the house humming to something invisible rustling into the corners. My inner voice had a question for me. Do I want to hear that mysterious flute again? Yes or no? Maybe it's just a part of growing up and I can't fully understand my own desires. The forest wailed behind the barrier that were my walls. Some ethereal entity wandered the fields. Branches shook as if calling for me. The wind howled and on the night. My thoughts were like annoying flies that entered my head before becoming weak and tangled. I didn't notice how I felt into slumber? I clicked too fast. Oh, I was actually so into it. Did you see me slowly like going down and relaxing like with the story? Wow, thank you for completing episode 1 of Tiny Bunny. Did you enjoy it? You want to know what happens next? Yeah, I can imagine that you guys are working on it really freaking hard, man. That's a lot of work right there. Just like one of those moving pictures probably takes forever to make. And all the writing is so good. Holy frick, I can't do it justice. It's so good. And the background is good. It's just a really, really good story. It's very relatable. And I feel for the kid. It's really cute. I think this is amazing and very, very cool stuff. I can't wait to see what happens. I'm definitely going to be finishing those series. I'll try to keep an eye on it. Feel free to reach out to me anytime if you remember. Alright, thank you.